These kind of got sway back a little bit.
This is an actual horse.
This guy.
Whether it's a horse or a human, we need to help them not become a victim anymore and stay as a victim. We all need a purpose in life. We need a reason to get up in the morning. These guys do too, you know, we all do.
What we're trying to do here is give these Mustangs a life. You know, when you put some of the toughest human beings in the world with arguably some of the toughest horses in the world together, and they're both curing each other of what they both need, and that's exactly what this program's about.
It's about transforming the lives of people and transforming the lives of horses.
Here we are looking for specific qualities to see if they're going to meet the needs of the program, and if we can't draw them out, then we won't be successful.
You're about to have a crazy adventure life.
Pressure peels back the layers to original thought, and we have to put these horses through that process so that we know what they're capable of. The only way we can do that is by covering country.
What we're going to do is we're going to cut out each one of our horses. We each took 2. And each one of us will be partnered with you guys for the next 5 days.
Let's get them trained.
Let's get them trained.
You know, these horses, it's a big transformation for them. A lot of these horses may have only been captured 2-3 months ago, so it's a big transition from total wild horse to now being in captivity. You know, it's probably a little stressful for them, but that's our job as a trainer to make it as pleasant and as understanding, so, you know, we can get a pretty good relationship started.
Hey. Well, the feelings of a horse when you start doing something with them, you know, something new. So the way I do it is like no force at all. You know, let them know that okay, I'm here not to hurt you. I'm here to be your friend.
You know, my philosophy is do whatever you can. Always allow the horse the freedom to make mistakes, the freedom to get away. To freedom to run from what he's afraid of. And eventually he'll learn to face his fear. And that's what I try to teach him, is to face their fear instead of running from it. You're good. You're good, bro. Just hang out here with us. I like to do as much as I can without forcing them to do anything. It needs to be their free choice. But we're making this the comfortable place to be for him and not the pressure place. So we're trying to take pressure off of him when he's with us, put pressure on him when he's going somewhere else, wanting to be somewhere else, you know. And eventually out in the whole world, there's going to be more pressure than be here with us. And that's where he's going to get the, you know, the peace.
I started looking at a lot of my friends and their lives when I got out of service. I began to realize that there was a dramatic need. A lot of guys that were once great warriors become marginalized and addicted to various substances. The suicide rates are just staggering. I know quite a few guys that have taken their own lives.
What I've seen over the years, just working with horses like this and helping people work with horses, is it's not just about the horse, it's really more about us. Turn left and just kind of walk around the edge of the round pin.
It takes a lot to intimidate me. That's probably the most vulnerable I've made myself in a really long time. Really left a mark on me just connecting with that horse. And this is the very beginning part of a relationship that is going to be for the next 20 years. A big trip like this really comes down to the nuts and bolts and logistics, and getting 16 wild horses across New Mexico and Arizona presents some pretty serious challenges that when you really come down from the 40,000 foot view, it's an immense amount of work. Conceptualizing this and then actually doing it has been a real challenge. 7 days a week, we're with the horses, gather everybody, head to the office and work half a day, and then take back off and 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, come home and do that 7 days a week. And some of the horses pick things up really quick. And I think it's a lot like people. It's looking at a new approach, you know, it's not one size fits all with horses. We need to prepare these animals for,
what's ahead, and it's our responsibility to do that.
Give them every opportunity to be good and stay good. But when they get off, let them run into a boundary and then encourage that when they're right on. And then they'll hunt what's right on.
He's come really easy, this horse.
Parrot. Got a head a mother could love only.
Oh, yeah. Easy. Easy, Grant.
Pretty good work.
It's been really a pleasure kind of watching him and take off yesterday and put him away bareback and just ride out there. It's been amazing to watch.
You're a very determined person.
I think a lot of people have, and I'm not saying I don't have an issue with fear, but I acknowledge it and it doesn't bother me, I guess. I think that comes from childhood and growing up and experiences and the occupation we used to do. Some of the greatest things I've done, I was terrified out of my mind, but I was willing to do it. I've been doing horses for a year. That's a loose term, doing horses.
Barely a year, really.
Barely a year. And, I might be feeling it on the inside. I think I internalize things very well.
I learned a lot from my grandfather. He used to say, trátalo bien, trátalo bien, trátalo bien. That means be good to him, be good to him, be good to him. And one of the most important things I learned from him is then respect for the animals, respect to the horses. And when you have respect to them, they're gonna respect you too. Well, when you get their confidence, trust, and connect with them, they connect with you, you can do basically everything you want.
The old philosophy was force, fear, intimidation, repetition. You make them do it against their will. They hated it. Too bad. We forced them. You made a slave out of the horse, and a lot of horses, even today, are slaves. And you can tell when you go to catch them, their heart isn't with you. They'll turn their head away and just kind of put up with you, but they're really not with you inside.
Just because you do good things for people or just because you served your country doesn't mean that life is going to be good to you. A lot of guys think, hey, just because I joined the military, now all of a sudden everybody owes me something, and what they need to realize is that they owe themselves.
This is different. It's more of a negotiation. The relationship with my horse is more important than what that horse can do for me or how good he makes me look. That used to be really important to me. Now what's important is that relationship between me and my horse, and I'm helping him be the best that he can be for the way he's designed. You think of your horse like a student or even a child. You're just trying to help him be the best that he can be at what he's kind of built and designed to be.
I began to lose an identity. I began to lose a sense of who I was. And I was defining my life by those scars. I wasn't growing and I wasn't evolving. I wasn't realizing that the challenges in my life were actually adding value to it, but I wasn't ready to accept that.
Working with these horses has made me changed some aspects of my life that I normally probably wouldn't have done, which has been a necessity to accomplish this mission and come home and do that 7 days a week and be a dad and 4 kids, manage a household. It's been a challenge, but I would say it's been one of the most rewarding experiences in my life as well, because through this process, I've learned a lot about myself, things that I don't think I would have ever learned had I not been through this experience. I think the most important thing about this project is about building a team of people that have roles and responsibilities and are results-driven individuals. It's not one singular idea, but it's a community of ideas that get together to accomplish one thing.
It's really quite an undertaking to plan this kind of trip. Our major concern at the beginning was snow levels. So we had to find trails that didn't have old snow and drifts that we couldn't navigate through. So we had to find logistically places that we could start and finish without going over mountaintops. We started as far north as possible, which would happen to be Quamato, New Mexico.
We're gonna have between 9,000 and 10,000 pounds of hay cubes. We're gonna have places where we're gonna have to be supplied with water. Just containing these animals where there's no trees. And obstacles are gonna come, and that's just a part of life. And if this wasn't a struggle and this wasn't a challenge, it wouldn't have any value. So no, I don't have any doubts. I just, you know, whether we're there for 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever, we're gonna make it happen.
I'm just gonna put, well, if I put it here and I put that block right there.
Of a wreck. Listen, if there is a wreck and a horse comes towards you, guys, your job is to stay on the horse. Remain calm, remember your horsemanship. Check your cinches, make sure none of those rings are in the armpit of your horse. The first thing we're gonna do is saddle up. We're gonna head down this road. We're gonna water our horses, and we're gonna come back up in about 0.8 miles, hit the CDT trail.
I've never packed with this many unbroke stock. Usually you put a young one in with experienced ones, and that's how they learn. And then you put another young one and another one. So I've never worked with this many young stock. The hardest thing about this young stock is getting them in a string, who's gonna get along, what order do you put them in? You don't know until you absolutely do it. And it all went pretty good. But putting a lot of miles on quickly, we did 60 miles in 2 days once. So that's what's been helpful, is the early, hard days to get them lined up.
We have experience it all, and the route, I know, some of the days I was rough with the route, I remember I would talk to him and I would be like, man, it would be a 25-mile day in the mountains, big mountains. I'd look at Russ and I'm like, man, this is a huge day. And we'd get it done. We had a lot of late nights. Like, we rode at night quite a bit.
The pressures here are primarily taking care of those horses. Those horses come before everything. They get fed before the people, they water before the people, they get bedded down before people. You know, they are the #1 priority here.
So that horse has a bad cut on the inside of his nose. This morning, it's really stinking bad, and it is infected. He should be all healed up by the end of the trip. Anyway, it's just a little stinky mess you got to deal with, and it's horses, you're just constantly cleaning them, feeding them, and doctoring them.
So the pressure is making sure they're okay. And guys like me who aren't necessarily used to that, it gives you something positive to put your energy into. It gives you something positive to put your focus on and your purpose into. You know, before I started the program, I was, you know, kind of a switch, not a dial. And working with these horses, working with these guys out in these challenging situations taught me to have a dial. It taught me to temper myself. You don't have a choice. You won't get to the next trailhead if you're not tempering yourself. That horse will not take you there. He'll take you wherever you want to go, but he's only going to take you so far as you can treat him. It's something that even in special operations for 7 years, I didn't learn anything like that. We're all the same type of predator animal. That's a prey animal. That's a herd prey animal. And if you act like that predator around them, like you're always ready to go, you're always on the edge, that's how they're gonna react to you. And you have to learn how to bring it all back. You have to refocus all of your energy from something mission critical, like an objective to get to and a target to hit, to making sure that guy is okay at the end of the day. He's not sored up, he's not cut, he's taken care of. It's pretty incredible to be able to see the entire world differently just from working with these guys.
You know, they're really designed for this hardy lifestyle with their hard hooves, their intelligence, their willingness to please. You know, we've had very, very few problems with this stock so far. You know, with 3 months under the belts, it's amazing what these guys are doing. Absolutely amazing. When we first started this program, when we first came to the shoot, we really have a quiet eye and a good demeanor. And today, Parrot, he works alongside some broke Mustangs we've had for years. So hopefully we can get a lot of people to want to have more interest in these Mustangs and give them a good home. Sorry. I gotta maintain my tough guy image. Come on, pal. Oh, I know. I know. There's so much downtime when you're in the saddle and going all these miles, and you know, it means a little bit to everybody, but the things that we kind of get in rhythm with is our own breathing and the breathing of the horse's hooves as they walk, the movement of the horse, and we all kind of become together with nature. It's, you know, the time that we really bond with these horses. It's that cohesiveness.
Being in the saddle and kind of being back by yourself with your pack string, and your mind starts to slow down.
That comes with your string and the horse you're riding. You become so attuned to it, and your hearing becomes so aware of it. It's quite a special time to be able to, you know, have as much of that as we've had. It really makes going back to civilization that much more difficult.
Ultimately, this process was to see these horses go through this intense training cycle so we could test them under every condition imaginable. We had to really create a template about where we needed to be, and small goals began to equal bigger goals. And that's how we got through this process. We've gone through every extreme. I mean, when we started this thing, it was like freezing cold mornings. I mean, 15, 20 degrees out, and then, you know, 70-degree days and high winds and big climbs, big country, remote country. I mean, we have transitioned through so many different types of weather. I think we've pretty much experienced it all.
I don't know if it's knowing what I'm doing, but it's my way of doing it.
busted my lip pretty good.
Did you have anything in your ear at the time?
Let's take a look at it real quick. I'm actually a paramedic, so okay.
I really feel a lot better, that's the honest thing.
Cruising up the trail, and he's just starting to pull his map out. And as he was pulling his map out, a mountain biker came down the hill, and it looked to me like he just about ran into him pretty dramatically. And the horse turned 180. And once I got my horse under control, I turned around, I saw Russ, and he was laying face down in a cactus. He was saying, "I'm hurt, I'm hurt."
That just spooked the horses, and they got after it, and they ran into that cholla. You know, Russ doesn't remember any of it.
Can you tell me at all about what happened?
Not a lick.
Nothing?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, these dudes are like covered in cholla. Their faces, everything.
Hoo-yah.
Slow.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Come on, buddy.
He's en route now. They said it's about probably like 1 hour to get there.
How do you feel? You sore?
Yeah, I'm sore.
Are you? Okay.
I got to change my jeans because I still have cactus in my jeans. Yeah, so other than that, losing a little sleep, I'm pretty good.
When I went in the hospital, I saw him. You just wanted to get back on the trail, and there was like, I didn't even have the heart to even tell him to take a day off because I knew it had to be a personal decision. He has 2 broken orbitals, a broken nose, and a concussion. He's in his 50s. That's just a level of commitment that he has to seeing this thing to the end.
For me to get back on the trail after that injury, all I thought was, I need to make sure that the doctor's okay with this, because then my wife will accept that answer, because there's no doubt that I was gonna finish. I came for 3 reasons. 1, to help finish the training cycle of these horses. The second would be what these horses can do for our veterans. Thirdly, what I want to do is do this for me. Being in the backcountry, no matter whether you're on mules, horses, somebody else's horses, it gets the marrow of your bones. And it's just my passion. But it's my passion being backcountry. Last year it was taken from me. Having cancer and surgery, I couldn't ride. So for me to be able to get back out here and do this, it really means a lot to me. I've been really fortunate in life to do a lot of things, be in a lot of places. Until you get to be back here, it's absolutely a magical place. It doesn't really matter what state you're in, who you're with. It's just something that I personally like to continue doing for as long as I can.
The hardest thing that you'll ever do in your life is look at yourself. And you do that in the most honest and pure way while on these animals. It's really just a mirror. It's the things in the mirror that you don't see that will ultimately change your life. We're taking a bold step in doing this. We're taking a bold step in the way we help veterans. I think it's a great responsibility, not only to tell this story, but to give these horses a chance and to give these veterans a chance.
I think I got a chance to see everything they've got, reaffirmed all the work that we did. You know, I have zero concern about these guys and passing them along to the students. You know, obviously they're not polished. They've got a lot of rough edges on them, but it makes the program that much better this year for the guys who get the opportunity to work with them.
This is the most important thing we do. The matching of the horses and the veterans is really what makes us unique. We try to identify core aspects of the individual and the horse and match them together to really complement each other. We're looking for an individual who really realizes that he can do it, but he needs help getting going. And I was really one of those guys where I would not necessarily ask for help, but I would do something where I was put in a position to help myself.
Never really seriously thought that this would be something I'd be doing, and have the opportunity to pull a Mustang off the land and train it from being the first person to touch it, and seeing where he is now. That guy's definitely got a special place in my heart. So been a really unique experience, and I encourage those people that have that thought or inkling to do so to take that step.
Sean Dunham, Bernie, Texas. Served United States Marine Corps, United States Army, 3rd Armored Cav. Did 2 tours in Iraq, and this is my old pony, Hambo.
My name is Chase Spiegel. My horse is Uh-Oh. I served in the Army as a combat medic for 6 years. I went to Afghanistan in 2010, 2011.
My name is Josiah Russell. This is Parrot, and I served with 1st Armored Division in Iraq and 10th Mountain Division in Afghanistan as a combat engineer.
What I'm trying to do is create a mirror reflection so that that horse is projecting who they are back onto them. And when guys start to realize that, that's when the change really begins. It's through this matching process, it's through this horse-human connection where the walls begin to, get graded down and then crack and then eventually crumble.
Up next, an interview with 500 Miles executive producer Micah Fink.
Carry down the back roads of my life, wondering if I'd be here alive, dreaming of paths I've yet to ride, holding my head up to the skies. I would go 100 miles just to find my way back. I don't carry any black clouds no more. I would cross cross 1,000 mountains just to keep the echoes out. Don't need to take those back roads no more. Oh, swallow my pride and face the dust. Breaking my own back just to gain the trust. I would go 100 miles just to find my way back. I don't carry any black clouds no more. I would cross 1,000 mountains just to keep the echoes out. Don't need to take those back roads no more.
"500 Miles" really kind of stems out of the idea that I wanted to share with the public about the condition of the American veteran, as well as the condition of the wild horse, which is a real problem in the West and in North America. So it's the story of the unpurposed horse and the unpurposed human being. You know, there's two institutions. There's the Veterans Administration and there's the Bureau of Land Management. Both of them have a lot of money, a lot of program, a lot of processes, but the statistics on both sides of the fence are worsening. I wanted to show that there's a key component that exists in both those entities, that's purpose, and how when it's found through a process of struggle and hardship, that it ultimately allows people and horses to overcome their external circumstances. And so to show that parallel, I decided to make a film about it. I took animal and human, and I showed that they're missing this key component, and when found, it's a powerful combination that provides healing for the animal and for the individual. I grew up in upstate New York. I was a small town kid. I was on a telephone pole in Queens, New York when the first plane hit the World Trade Center on 9/11. That was a situation, circumstance that drove me to join the military. I did 13 combat tours. I spent over 1,100 days just in combat zones. That's not even training. So when I came home, life had changed. Things had evolved. And I had lost my culture. I lost my community. I lost this identity. And it really had sent me into a tailspin. I had become a victim of everything. I would blame the government and I would blame all these things and why I wasn't happy. So it was all these experiences in life that kind of was a confluence to that particular point where all of a sudden I realized, I have to begin to challenge myself. I have to begin to take ownership of my choices in the face of adversity, in the face of hardships. And, here I ran the Ironman. I kept taking on these challenges. I wasn't really sure at the time what I was looking for. We watch these videos we see all this stuff, these people overcoming challenges and struggles, and we're gravitated to that. We literally have obstacle course races where we literally manufacture obstacles for people to go over so at the end they can feel good. That we have machines that you enter the obstacle, 3.0 at 1% incline for 30 minutes, right? We manufacture obstacles because it's through those obstacles that we learn about who we are. What I needed didn't exist because what was out there for veterans, and there's no shortage of nonprofits to help vets. As a matter of fact, there's 45,000 of them in North America just for veterans, and $8 billion are spent a year on those organizations. But the last thing that I needed after a pretty intense special operations career, operating at the tip of the spear everywhere, doing the most elite missions possible, was to float around in a canoe or go to the Super Bowl. I had issues. I had a family. I had to put my life back together. That was the beginning of the real change in my thinking, when my belief system started to change, when I began to realize that, if I'm letting life happen to me, I'm always the victim. But if it happens for me,
then I always have a choice. And then it's in those choices where I find actual freedom. And sometimes the only way that you can find your own way is by helping somebody else find theirs. So that's why I started Heroes and Horses. I brought some friends out, and I had been working on this ranch. I was still contracting at the time, and I ran some pilot programs just based on my own experiences. And I had a friend come out, two friends come out, and one of them was in a really bad way. He hadn't come out of his house in like 6 months. As a matter of fact, I remember on that trip being concerned that he was gonna do something. Like he just was in a very dark, dark place. I wasn't that experienced of a horseman at the time, and each day just got worse. It just snowed and we were cold, and I had gotten bucked off and dragged by a horse. But at the end of this experience, we had bonded and reemerged, and we did it again like a month later, and that's when I started really developing the program. And so in 2014, we launched our first full season, and it's evolved and grown a lot since then. I knew that it had to be challenging, because what had really helped me wasn't the good days of frolicking around in the grass on horses in Montana, which were great. It was the hard days where I'd gotten bucked off in the middle of nowhere and lost my horse and drag, or all these things that had happened. Those were the experiences that were helping me grow and evolve. I came up with the idea for the film in my office, and I went home for lunch and I told my wife that I was adopting wild Mustangs and that I was gonna ride them 760 miles, it ultimately turned out to be, and that I was gonna tell the story in film of the unpurposed horse and the unpurposed human being, and that I was leaving in April. And that was December. So I picked up the phone and I started figuring out how you get wild horses. I called a friend and he knew a film guy, and they had never made a film like this before, and I just started making decisions as if the next day it was happening. And people came around, people got involved, people got excited, and this film is an amazing story, not only of just the film itself, but of the people that came together to make it happen. And, there wasn't a monster budget. I piecemealed every single thing that you could ever imagine to pay for this film together, and showed up in New Mexico with a ragtag bunch of people that half of them had never even ridden horses. I didn't want the film to be about all these shocking experiences. Horses going off cliffs, being trapped in snowstorms. I wanted to be about a metaphor for life. There's a scene in the film where we're standing in Arizona, I think in the Superstition Wilderness, and we're kind of like looking at a map, and we were actually completely lost. Of course, the film doesn't show that, but we were in like a huge argument. We stood up there and we kind of all were at each other's throats for about 20 minutes, and then we decided hey, let's pull it together. And we all realized in that moment why we were there, why it mattered, and the impact that this film was gonna have. So in the face of this obstacle and this hardship, the thing to do is not argue. That situation right there made us all take a step back and be like, listen, this isn't about us. This isn't about the mistakes we're making. This is about the impact that it's gonna have and the lives that it's ultimately gonna affect. And so no matter what gets in our way, we're gonna accomplish this mission, we're gonna tell that story. So Heroes and Horses, the 500-mile project, it's an approach to everyday life is ultimately what it is. And I'm really blessed that this film is where it is today, because when we were making it, there's a lot of people that told me I was completely crazy, I was totally insane, they didn't even get it, but in my heart, I knew that it was something special, and I knew that, it would touch a lot of lives. No matter what I did in my career, it pales in comparison to the amount of lives that have been saved through this particular process. 75% of the guys that even apply for the program are on more than 3 psychiatric-based medications or opiate-based medications. So it's a real, very, very serious problem. The first person that you see when you come home from no matter what your military career was, is a 25-year-old grad student that prescribes you medication pretty much immediately. But there needs to be other options before they go down the narcotic road, before they get wrapped up. I mean, these guys some of them have been in therapy and counseling in this for 8, 10, 11, 12. The war's been going on for 18 years. 122,000 vets have killed themselves since 9/11. How come we're not saying, hey, what's the impact on a entire generation of men and women that have served this country that are killing themselves at an exponential rate? I think that narcotics, I think that alcohol, I think the rush to give people an option rather than for them to take ownership happens so quickly. Listen, I'm not saying that there's never take a drug for the rest of your entire life ever, but what I'm saying is like, you trouble sleeping? Well, if you're smoking cigarettes and chewing Copenhagen and drinking Monster Energy drinks and you're 100 pounds overweight, well, let's start there, rather than just giving people narcotics. And those choices, they need to be presented to these guys before they go down the pharmaceutical road, before they go down the self-medication, the isolation, the suicide role. Because life is a special thing and it's a gift, and it shouldn't be wasted in the face of adversity. So they're given a horse and a mule, or 2 horses, a saddle horse and a pack horse, and that's their responsibility. And they learn everything about those horses. We don't, we're not out there guiding them. They learn how to shoe horses, they learn how to pack horses, they learn equine medicine, learn how to drive trucks and trailers and run chainsaws. We show them how to chop trees, chopping trees down, everything that they're gonna need to know to work in the agricultural industry, or the ranch industry, or the equine industry, or the outfitting industry. Then they go on an 11-day trip. They'll ride the highest, the most gnarliest mountain ranges, and they lead the trip. They do the land navigation, the stock management, it rotates every day, and we just hang back and we let them make those mistakes, we let them do what they need to do. They'll ride around 400 miles at this point. They have ridden on horses, and none of these guys have any horse experience. They're from New York City, they're from Chicago, they're from Miami. So we want them to take these tools, take them and apply them in a real world situation. We separate them away from heroes and horses and simulate them getting a job and going back to work. A lot of these guys, matter of fact, 80% of them are unemployed. So 4 to 6 weeks, they complete this internship. That's the end of the program, which is about 9 or 10 weeks in its entirety. These guys move on and become productive, contributing members to society, to their communities, to their homes, to their families. And a lot of them have been dead for 10 years. And I hate to use that term, but they definitely weren't living. A guy that came through our program, he's the only Vietnam veteran I ever, accepted in the program. And he called up and he was like, please accept me. I said, you're 67 years old. I was like, you'll die in this program. And he goes, I'm already dead. And I was like, my guy that works for me sitting next to me, like wondering what I'm gonna say next. And I was like, you're accepted. And his stories, you can read all of his story about it today. And he went in and quit all the stuff, quit all the treatment, quit all the meds. And we don't have 40 years. We don't have 10 years. We have today. So we have guys that come through the program that when they graduate, they want to come back, right? They've gotten jobs, they've moved on with their life, but they come back and they volunteer and give back. So I would say the majority of all the students come back and help in some capacity and pay it forward, which is really important to our model. They continue that growth. There's been guys that have come back every single year since I've started this. I had a veteran write me just the other day, and I'll use his nickname, Bigfoot. He wrote me a letter and he's like, I got home and I didn't have an apartment. My brother had an apartment and it was under construction. I spent the past 2 months sleeping with a dust mask on, saving my money to get an apartment for my daughter and I. But I realized at that point that where I was at that point in my life was actually by my own design. And now that I've taken ownership of my choices, and he attaches a picture of him and his daughter in this beautiful apartment that they bought, all furnished and did everything, was that the obstacle ultimately is the way. And he said, all these therapy programs, all these things that I've done, all this blame shifting on everybody else, he's like, has only just put my life on pause for 8 years. He said, I just want to say, thank you. My message is that, listen, what you're looking for, you already have. It's inside. And we can do something, but I can't just do it. It's gonna take a movement of people. I find value in helping other people, and ultimately that's what's helped me find my way as well. I wanted to change the narrative of what humanity can do in the face of adversity. As a matter of fact, the opportunity that most people are looking for is in the very obstacle that they're facing. You know, when I first started this, I wrote a quote, and the quote is, "We're not defined by our many scars, but by what we do after the wound closes." And I wrote that almost 7 years ago, and it still rings true today. So everybody has a 500-mile journey. So you already have that film in your life, but you still gotta make it down that road. You still have to continue on. You still have to take ownership of those choices. And it's in the choices that you make in the face of adversity where you'll find what you're truly looking for. And all along, it may not be what you thought.